Ontological mysteries are the genre that are most commonly responsible for throwing wrenches into your standard mystery plots. Depending on how the mystery is arranged, there may or may not be someone behind the situation to begin with, and whether or not a person trapped within the closed circle is responsible for the mysterious ongoings can also be very much up for debate. Video games can take this to their own degree, as the player will be challenged to solve the case themselves instead of just having events play out. Indie developers Trinite Team have decided to try their hands at creating their own title in that vein. The Sekimeiya Spun Glass stars a group of people attending an exhibition in a Japanese prospecting town. This exhibition is being put on by the large Ashia family, showcasing the mysterious Sekimeiya. Scarce details have been delivered though, and adding into the importance of the family behind the event led to an air of mystery that upped the hype immensely. The people came in droves to find out what it was, but on that fateful Thursday morning, chaos ensued. Fearing an attack from Zin, a group of extremely professional thieves, some over-the-top and frankly quite unsafe security measures were put in place for the Ashia to stop any thieves in their tracks. When a ton of smoke suddenly makes its appearance, these measures are set off, leaving a group of people trapped in the building. What could go wrong? Well, your first point of view character is a recent high school graduate named Atsuki, who is attending the exhibition with his close friend Shiroya. They're attending the exhibition to take their mind off recent events, but that idea has quite thoroughly blown up in their faces. Well, for starters, someone shows up dead, and then the Sekimeiya turns out to be able to transport people through time right in the middle of some heated arguments over who the killer is. And it only gets more chaotic from there, leaving your job as the player to figure out what the hell is going on. The premise is quite hard to describe, and I want to be as spoiler-free as possible, but rest assured that the sheer number of irregularities in this ontological mystery is through the damn roof. To help you stay on top of the mystery, the Sekimeiya Spun Glass presents you with some of the best menu functions in the entire visual novel medium. This title saves the transcript as you read them to a search menu, allowing you to scroll through and read through what you've already seen without having to rely on extra saves. The Sekimeiya Spun Glass presents its story in the classic novel mode trappings, with nothing gracing the screen besides text and character sprites. The portraits are fantastic and I love the style. The CGs are overall really good and some are absolutely stellar. You can use the very aesthetic looking menus to alter this text, such as color coded per character. However, no matter how I played with the settings, it was a bit difficult to read. Typically in this mode, the text doesn't always cover the entire screen before moving on, and there's a decent amount of space between the screen and portraits. This means you'll be able to easily notice portrait changes as the text moves on, or the portraits will be dulled. In the Sekimeiya, there is little headroom, and faces will start to be covered just a few lines into each screen, only emptying once the screen is full. I'm sure this is done for simplicity's sake, programming all the main script-related functions, but it becomes harder to read the text or the expressions on the characters' portraits. Not being able to read the characters' expressions at a glance is a contributing factor to the title's major negative. There is a substantial lack of characterization within the cast. Even after completing the game, there's only a few cast members I actually care about, like 3. The beginning is extremely rough. It focuses on setting up the mystery, so much so that the premise and the cast are completely forgotten about. The narration for the first 2 chapters is also largely very dry, which makes the mystery setup even more tiresome. There's a severe lack of any slice of life elements to flesh out the cast, which is sad because the ones that do exist work so well. An early character death is supposed to impact Atsuki, but the lack of scenes with that character and the action behind the narration leads the scene to having the weight of the death impacted him a lot, and then the story moves on. We're rarely ever given details about characters that aren't intrinsically tied to the plot, making it that much harder to care about them. This is a detriment, but it also does lead to some mind-blowing stuff within the narrative. Plot points appear to be a carefully planned machine made up of many minute working parts, which are extremely impressive despite the weak cast. The game then challenges you to solve the mysteries yourself, which sounds kind of weird, but is extremely gratifying, and it eventually at the end allowed me to make some extensive use of the search and notes menus that I had pretty much ignored until this point. tiny dismissive details would come back and sock me in the face with some earth-shattering revelations. And let me tell you, by that point, I was having an absolute blast. The soundtrack really helps here. The title's largely licensed OST has many good EDM tracks, great for theorizing too, and it strengthens parts of the weaker chapters with climactic songs or melodies that set a strong tone. The Sekimeiya Spun Glass is a mixed bag of a visual novel. The early chapters and a weak cast weigh heavily on the experience, but it builds upon that with a strong narrative direction and presentation. It all comes together to provide an amazing mystery that only finds its footing after the opening chapters. Noisy Pixel is giving the Sekimeiya Spun Glass a 7 out of 10. Thank you guys so much for watching. Noisy Pixel is a group dedicated to bringing you guys the best news, reviews, previews, and more. Please subscribe if you haven't, I guess, and then stick around for our other content. We cover everything, so you'll find something you like.
Noisy Pixel.